You are 38 years old, American, and for the last 11 years you worked as a mid-level logistics coordinator for a pharmaceutical distribution company in suburban Philadelphia. You drove a used Hyundai. You coached your daughter's soccer team on Saturdays. You were, by every visible measure, unremarkable. That was the point. The night the FBI first knocked on your door, it was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in late November. You remember because the heat had just gone out and the thermostat read 61 degrees. You remember because your daughter Maya was 9 years old and asleep 12 feet down the hallway. You remember because your wife, Sandra, looked at you across the kitchen in a way she had never looked at you before, not with fear, with recognition. Like she had always known this knock was coming and had simply been waiting. You are not a criminal. You want to be very clear about that. You made decisions inside a system that was already broken before you arrived. You kept your head down for 11 years and you watched the numbers. You knew which shipments were light by 3 to 4%. You knew which manifests were adjusted after the fact. You knew that your supervisor, a man named Gerald Carver, was skimming controlled substances from the distribution chain and reselling them through a network you had never fully mapped. You knew because you are good at your job. You knew because the numbers never lied. You said nothing for 3 years. You want to be honest about that too. The agents who came to your door were named Reyes and Holbrook. Reyes was calm and specific. He told you that the federal investigation had been running for 14 months. He told you that 47 individuals had been identified in the network. He told you that you were number 31 on a list, and that the difference between number 31 and number 6 was a conversation. He gave you his card. He said you had 72 hours. You did not call a lawyer that night. You stood in your kitchen after they left, and you looked at Sandra, and you could not find a single true sentence to give her. You told her it was a misunderstanding. She nodded slowly. She went to bed. You sat at the kitchen table until 4:15 in the morning, staring at a number on a business card. The part no one tells you about becoming an informant is how ordinary the process feels. There is paperwork. There is a formal agreement that runs to 23 pages. There are meetings in a federal building in downtown Philadelphia, room 4B, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. You sign things. You are given a case number, not a name. Your handler is Agent Reyes. He is professional, and he is never unkind. That almost makes it worse. Your role is specific. You continue working at the distribution company. You document irregularities in the shipment logs. You record conversations when instructed. You are given a device the size of a shirt button. You place it in your breast pocket on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You are not a spy. You want to be clear about that. You are a witness who is being asked to keep his eyes open. That is the distinction you make every single morning when you button your shirt. The first time you record Gerald Carver, he talks for 11 minutes about his daughter's college tuition. He sounds tired and proud and ordinary. You sit across from him and you nod and you ask the right questions. You drive home that evening and you sit in your car in the driveway for 22 minutes before you go inside. Sandra notices something shift in you around month 4. She does not name it. She starts doing things separately. Small things, like eating before you get home, like taking Maya to her Saturday games without asking if you want to come. The distance does not arrive like a storm. It arrives like a season changing. One morning the light is different, and you realize something has already ended. You tell yourself this is temporary. You tell yourself that when it is over, you will explain everything, and she will understand. You run that calculation 200 times in 6 months. You keep arriving at the same answer. You never do the explaining. By month 7, you have documented 31 irregular shipment entries. You have recorded 14 conversations. You have identified 3 secondary contacts in Gerald Carver's network that the FBI had not previously mapped. Agent Reyes tells you that your cooperation is, in his exact words, exceptionally valuable. You feel something when he says that. You are not proud of what you feel. The turning point is not dramatic. It never is. It is a Wednesday afternoon in March, and Agent Reyes asks you to do one thing outside the original agreement. He asks you to introduce a name. He asks you to bring up, casually, a man named Dennis Farrow in conversation with Carver. Just a name, just to see what Carver does with it. You ask if Dennis Farrow is part of the investigation. Reyes says that Farrow is a person of interest. You ask if you are being asked to guide the investigation rather than observe it. Reyes says the line is subtle. You know, in that moment that you are crossing something. You cross it anyway. You want to explain why. You had already given them 7 months. You had already compromised everything quiet and stable in your life. You were 73% through something, and the cost of stopping felt higher than the cost of continuing. That is the logic you used. It felt airtight at the time. Dennis Farrow is arrested 4 months later. You do not know what he did or did not do. You never ask. You understand by then that asking is not part of your role. The indictments come down on a Thursday in October. 19 people are charged. Gerald Carver is among them. You are not charged. Your agreement holds. Agent Reyes shakes your hand in room 4B and tells you that you served your country. You drive home. The Hyundai has 94,000 miles on it now. You notice that as you pull into the driveway. Sandra has already moved most of her things to her sister's place in Trenton by then. She did not leave because of the investigation. She does not know about the investigation. She left because you became someone she could not reach. She told you, the last real conversation you had, that you had been disappearing for over a year and she was done waiting for you to come back. She took Maya every other week. Maya is 10 now. She asks questions you do not fully answer. The federal non-disclosure agreement runs for a minimum of 5 years. You cannot tell Sandra what you did or why you changed. You cannot explain the distance. You are legally bound to the version of yourself that she could not live with. That is the cost no one put in the 23-page document. You are not on any list now. No one knows your name. The news covers the indictments for 6 days and then moves on. You are invisible again. You thought that was what you wanted. For 11 years you were invisible and safe, and it was enough. You sit in the Hyundai in the driveway of a house that feels too large for one person, and you think about the number 31. You think about Gerald Carver talking about his daughter's tuition for 11 minutes. You think about Dennis Farrow, whose face you never saw. You think about a girl named Maya who calls you every other Sunday and sounds slightly further away each time. You became an informant because you believed in the system. You told yourself that. You told yourself you were on the right side. You told yourself the line between observing and guiding was subtle enough to cross without consequence. You look at your life now, and you understand the dark truth that has been waiting patiently at the end of all your logic. You did not expose a criminal. You simply became a more invisible version of one. You gathered information under pressure. You directed outcomes you did not fully understand. You broke the one relationship that mattered most, and you cannot even explain why, not to the person who needed the explanation most. You kept your agreement. You lost everything the agreement was supposed to protect. The house is 61 degrees tonight. The heat is working fine. It just feels that way.